About a year ago, Jimmy Highroller, who, if you don't know, is the GOAT of basketball commentary videos, did a video where he found out who NBA players thought was the best of all time. The answer? Well, you can go watch that video to find out. But as I watched the video, I thought to myself, what if we were to put a spin on the question? Because at the end of the day, it's really just LeBron versus Jordan, right? Instead, what if we were to ask NBA players what is the best team of all time? Out of every single player who has ever stepped foot onto an NBA court, what is the best starting five one could come up with? Well, to put it in Jimmy's words, the answer may not be what you expect. Now, before I get into the results, there were a couple problems that I faced when collecting this data. First, and most importantly, was the fact that there were far less players who stated an all-time starting five compared to their GOAT. Why? I have no clue. Maybe the media needs to ask this to more players. And second was the fact that even among those who listed a starting five, there were a lot of stipulations and rules. Like when Kyle Lowry gave his all-time Villanova starting five, or when Isiah Thomas made his all-time starting five but from the 80s. But we're not looking for a starting five from a specific era of basketball or a starting five from a specific team. We're looking for a starting five from the history of the NBA, every player at his peak and in shape. And after searching through countless YouTube videos, scrolling through Google searches and getting unreliable ChatGPT answers, I've got my results. Ready? Alright, here we go. Now, coming into this, I thought that the point guard position would be closely competitive between two players, Magic Johnson and Steph Curry. But the players chose like this.
Magic, Curry, Robertson, Curry, Magic, Iverson, Magic, Isiah, Magic, Robertson, Magic, Curry, Stockton, Magic, LeBron, Robertson, LeBron, Magic, Isiah, Stockton, LeBron.
That's 13 votes for Magic, 4 votes for Curry, 4 votes for LeBron, 3 votes for Robertson, 2 votes for Isiah, and 1 vote for Iverson. And yes, I know, LeBron isn't a point guard. But he kinda is though. And a pattern you'll notice throughout the voting as we go on is that most of these players didn't pick players at the exact position they play in. And also with an absolute dominant performance in the results was Magic Johnson, who got nearly as many votes as all the other players combined. It looks like Curry still has some more work to do. Jordan, Kobe, Jordan, West, Kobe, Jordan, Kobe, Jordan, Kobe, Jordan, Robertson, Jordan, and Jordan. Yeah, I mean, it's almost criminal not to have Jordan in your starting five. In fact, out of every single player who voted, there were only 3, KG, Malone, and Carmelo, who didn't put Jordan in the starting five, which is pretty crazy. Now, out of all the positions on the team, the forwards were the ones that had the most discrepancies in answers. I mean, the answers should be pretty obvious. But without further ado, we have Bird, Kobe, Bird, LeBron, Pippen, Jordan, Kobe, Pippen, LeBron, Bird, LeBron, Baylor, KD, Bird, LeBron, Pippen, Kobe, Jordan, Russell, Kobe, Carmelo, Bird, Kobe, Pippen, KD, Kobe. So that's 1 vote for Elgin Baylor, Bill Russell, and Carmelo, 2 votes for KD and Jordan, 4 votes for Pippen and LeBron, 7 votes for Larry Bird, and to win it all, a total of 8 votes for Kobe Bryant. Yeah, not as a guard, but as a forward. Now, to be fair, positions are pretty useless in basketball, especially in the modern NBA, and it's not like Kobe didn't play the 3. But it's shocking that he got twice as many votes as LeBron. Well, kind of. And this is a topic I'll touch on later. But moving on. Russell, Duncan, LeBron, Kareem, Duncan, Worthy, LeBron, Russell, Giannis, Bird, Duncan, Hakeem, Russell, Garnett, Hakeem, Duncan, LeBron, Duncan, Kareem, LeBron, Duncan, Garnett, Kareem, Rodman, LeBron, Garnett, and Garnett. So this one was a pretty clear victory for Tim Duncan, although LeBron, Garnett, and Kareem got their fair share of votes. At the end of the day, though, we're taking the best power forward of all time. Wilt, Shaq, Hakeem, Shaq, Kareem, Shaq, Kareem, Kareem, Shaq, Wilt, Wilt, Shaq, 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 Wilt, Hakeem, Shaq, Hakeem, Hakeem, Shaq, Wilt, Shaq, Shaq. Well, if you thought he was dominant on the court, then he's nearly as dominant when it comes to the results. That's 17 votes for Shaq, 13 for everyone else. I mean, Shaq was an absolute monster who would put the fear into the eyes of any player, even the greatest, and it clearly showed. And so therefore, after asking 30 NBA players their best starting five of all time, a starting five that would beat any other NBA team regardless of circumstance, we have Magic at the point, Jordan at the 2, Kobe at the 3, Duncan at the 4, and to finish it off, Shaquille O'Neal at the 5. Well, kind of. See, there were a lot of nuances in the voting that made this a more complex situation. Like the elephant in the room, Kobe at the small forward. Now, to be completely honest here, I would take LeBron James over Kobe in this spot. And the data backs it up. Because although Kobe had twice as many votes as LeBron for the position, LeBron actually had 2 more total votes than Kobe. And this was because LeBron ended up getting 4 votes as a point guard, 4 votes as a small forward, and 6 votes as a power forward. Meanwhile, Kobe only got put at the 3 because Jordan was at the 2. Now, I don't think LeBron should be punished for being a Swiss Army knife of a player, especially as more NBA players actually voted for him, so I'm gonna have to change the list to accommodate for this anomaly in data. And this also leads me to a second point of consideration, which is what I'll call the Jordan-Kobe conundrum. See, it's a pretty general consensus among the NBA community that the 2 best shooting guards of all time were Jordan and Kobe. Nearly identical playing styles, with one of them having that slight edge over the other, both in terms of numbers and championships. And so when I collected these results, I thought that would mean that it would be either Kobe or Jordan. But the players couldn't have answered differently, because out of the 12 times that Kobe was voted, 10 of them also had Jordan in the list, which is why Kobe was placed at the 3 so many times. And I think this paints a picture of how NBA players view the game differently. While most average fans are very rigid in their thinking, holding each player into their respective positions and tiering certain players over the other, NBA players simply go with the players that they know will dominate a game, regardless of positions or roles. They prioritize pure skills over any other facet of the game. As Carmelo Anthony puts it,
I love pure hoopers, man. I love, guys that get to it. Pure hooper is you put them anywhere in the world, any basket, and they gonna get to it.
Ironically, Melo was one of the 2 people to actually put Kobe over Jordan. And some other things to note. Out of the 5,000 players to ever put a foot on a court in the history of the NBA, there were only 23 who were voted to an all-time starting 5. And if we were to order them by voting, the data would look like this. Now, a couple of things to note here. Among these 23 players, there were 6 who only received 1 vote, those being Giannis, Melo, West, Baylor, AI, and Worthy. Now, if you look at who voted for them, it paints a clearer picture. The only person to pick Carmelo was, well, Carmelo. And the person who voted for West and Baylor was Dr. J, who happened to be the oldest player who voted on the list. I'd say that the 3 picks that were the most interesting was Shaq voting AI, Jordan voting for Worthy, and Pippen voting for Giannis. What's interesting to note is that during their 2001 finals run, Shaq and Kobe only lost 1 game. To who, you may ask? Allen Iverson. And when Shaq missed out on being the first unanimous MVP by 1 vote, who was it that got that vote? Well, I think we all know the answer. And if it was truly occurrences like these that made Shaq include AI on the list, then my respect for him goes even higher because he's essentially acknowledging how good of a player Iverson had to impact his legacy like that. Furthermore, there were some people who like to say that if James Worthy hadn't been injured in the 1991 NBA Finals, that the Bulls would have struggled to beat the Lakers very easily. Now, I think the Bulls would have still won a championship, and I think that Jordan's choice to put him in his all-time starting 5 was purely out of respect for Worthy as a player. However, it's something to think about. And lastly, Pippen putting Giannis on his list over the likes of Duncan, Malone, and Barkley was something I found the most interesting, especially as they had never played together or even had a conversation. But Pippen was quoted saying that Giannis may have been one of the few players that he couldn't guard, which is one of the highest forms of compliment coming from an 8-time All-NBA defensive first-team player. Now, moving up the list, we have KD, Isiah, Garnett, who seems like one of the most underrated superstars on the list, Curry, who got an underwhelming 4 votes, all the way up to Chamberlain, who got a total of 5 votes. Above him is Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, who, despite being considered to be the 3rd best player in NBA history, was only 9th highest on the list. Then we have Hakeem the Dream Olajuwon with 6, and Bird and Duncan at 7. Then, filling the top 5 in terms of total votes is Kobe with 12, Magic Johnson with 13, LeBron James with 14, and Shaquille O'Neal with 17. Now, you know how Jimmy High Roller does that thing where he shows a graph showing a bunch of data and then scrolls up to show some crazy anomaly? Well, let's do that. Here's a graph of all 23 players graphed based on their career box plus minus and the number of votes they received. The more to the right you are, the more you contribute to your team's success. The higher up you are, the more votes you got from other NBA players. You can see Carmelo Anthony, arguably the worst vote of all the players, at the bottom left. As we move more to the right, we have the more underrated votes, in players like Curry and Durant. And in the upper echelons, we have NBA legends like Shaq, Kobe, and LeBron. Oh yeah, and then there's Michael Jordan, who despite retiring 2 decades ago, continues to shock us with how much better he was than the rest. Now, I understand that using cumulative votes to decide the greatest 5 of all time will typically just produce a team of the best players in each position, rather than a team of players that necessarily complement each other's games. So with that being said, I've linked in the description the specific starting 5s that each player voted, so you can see the nuances of how everyone voted. And please leave a comment down below stating what your best starting 5 of all time is. Anyway, that's all I got for today. Thanks for watching.
Bye.